As you all know, we are recording these sessions and we will upload them to the platform. So as as Tatiana just mentioned, we have for this project prepared a platform with resources for both teachers and students to teach mathematics, to achieve high quality in mathematics teaching, and to teach in a more inclusive classroom. That's more or less our approach and our aim for this project. So we have already developed an ebook, and the contents of the ebook are the research that Marina has already presented, the research study that we did. Remember that we conducted interviews for students, for teachers, and for parents of our students to assess what was going on, why did our students have math anxiety, what could we do to better improve our ways of teaching, etc. So this is the content of our survey. Everything is available online and free. And then we have the methodology, which Alexandra and Tatiana already presented. The document is over there as well. Everything is free. And now, our lesson plans. My lesson plan is called the Rule of Three. Explained. The lesson plan that Open Europe prepared. So, the Rule of Three, the lesson, the aim is to provide effective ways to teach secondary school children to learn and apply the Rule of Three in a normal real life scenario. We all use the Rule of Three in our daily lives, I think, or at least in my opinion is one of the most used tools, mathematical tools in day-to-day activities. Therefore, I guess that this was my way to approaching it, that tools are good, but if you don't know how to use them, they have no purpose. Meaning, if I have a hammer, and this is just a silly analogy, but if I have a hammer, a hammer can be really useful, but if I don't know for what and in what scenario should I use it, it has no purpose. Okay, so I'll try to be brief in my presentation because all this information is available online. The lesson plan, as I said, is available on the platform, platform Docs Excellence in Math. So the objective of this lesson plan is just everyday today financial decisions using the Rule of Three. We want our students to analyze numerical information in a financial situation. I'll go back. So how does it work? This is a collaborative task. Actually it has 3 activities. The first task is conducted by the maths teacher. And then we have another extra activity conducted by the IC teacher, technology teacher. And then another activity that can be conducted by the arts teacher. The lesson plan has handouts or worksheets for the teachers to work on. The most fundamental part of the activity is the one that teacher 1 conducts. So it's like the presentation, or it sets the grounding for the next activities. Activity from teacher number 2, and when I say activity 2, I'm talking about teacher number 1 or activity 1 conducted by the maths teacher is the most fundamental and important. Activity number 2, teacher number 2, not so important, or they can interchange in time. And then activity number 3 conducted by the arts teacher is also just to set the foundation, meaning the students have already received the knowledge, practice the Rule of Three with the worksheets, but then the art teacher is just to set and I'm trying to say it in English, but I cannot find the words, but afianzar, so like to set the ground. To reinforce the learning, that's what I was trying to come up with. Okay, so teacher number one, mathematics. So we have a simple warm-up, so arithmetic activities for children to, just to start, not to start abruptly, but just to and assess also the knowledge of arithmetics of our students. Remember that we have inclusive classrooms, heterogeneous classrooms with children with all levels of understanding and knowledge, etc. So we also have task number one, and I'll show you the annexes, of course, and we will work with the annexes, but just to give you a brief overview of what is the task about and what does it consist of. So simple math problems, a warm-up. We have annex number 3. The students have already practiced and done the exercises. We have some feedback, a conclusion, like a sort of debate. And we have also another optional activity that we can use. Thank you. As I said, ICT. Thank you. ICT. This is just a research project. The purpose of the activity in the ICT class is not to teach math. It's just for students to interact with tools like Canva or Genially to create a presentation about the rule of 3. Remember that they already have the knowledge from the previous activity, which is the mathematics activity. So they have already practiced the rule of 3. They already have the knowledge. But now we need them, or we want them to explain to their peers what did they understand by the rule of 3. So this is more like a self-directed or activity-based approach, where students have already presented with some material and now they just need to present it to somebody else. So meaning, and this is my personal opinion, but one of the best ways of learning is to teach somebody else something. So that's why you edit information and you comprehend better something. So as I said, this activity is not mandatory, meaning it can be interchanged in the sense of this could be previous to the mathematics activity number 1, mathematics activity, or it can be after, whichever you like. It's just remember that we teach an inclusive classroom. Therefore, there may be students that are not accustomed to work in a self-directed way or an activity-based way. Therefore, maybe they need some guidance. So, finally, the arts activity, which is just, everything that they learned in previous activities. They just develop some. I'll show it to you. But we have annex number 8, which is a sort of quiz with like a final solution, where children just all the previous knowledge they have, they just develop it. So troubleshooting tips, as I already mentioned, but here it's written down, activity-based learning or teaching. It's somewhat difficult at the beginning of a year, or if students are not accustomed to working independently. So maybe we need first to set a culture of trust in our classroom for everybody to be able, free, and comfortable in order to better participate in activities. We need to pair up children that are, students that are quote-unquote fast learners with others that are slow learners in order to balance out and for peer-to-peer to help each other. Till this point, am I being clear? Yes? Am I, okay, so let me continue. Well, again, kindness and trust is key to developing these type of activities, activity-based learning, self-directed learning, peer-to-peer learning, etc. So inclusion, part of the activities from the activity number 1, mathematics, has a warm-up in order to prepare for the arithmetics, and also for us teachers to assess what is the level of understanding and what is the level of proficiency of our students. Materials, equipment, this can be either, you can print out the worksheets, the handouts, you could do it online, they could do it whichever you like. I mean, I have the handouts over here, so after I finish with my presentation, you can all see what I'm speaking about. So, obviously, for the ICT activity number 2, you need a laptop and a computer or a tablet, of course, because it would all be done online. And then finally, for activity number 3, again, handouts or a notebook. You project the information or the worksheet on the whiteboard, and then children do their activities on a notebook. So I'm just rephrasing myself, but activity-based teaching, obviously students are active, they have an active role in their learning. It's not just sitting and absorbing information, they actually get the chance to do things with our guidance, meaning we are not the direct, and if I may say, entity that gives them the information. Either we give some guidance, but they are completely active in the development of this activity or activities. Motivation strategy, this is very important. Again, inclusivity, a growth mindset, thinking that skills are not set in stone, but that growth mindset can be summarized in a sentence, which is not yet. This means that maybe you don't get the concept yet, but with practice and within time, you will get it and you will master it. And this is the approach that in an inclusive classroom we should have. In the sense of we all learn at our own pace, and if you don't get it right now, it doesn't matter. Just practice a little bit more and you will eventually get it. This is more information, and I will finish my presentation over here, and we will start working, and let's make this a little bit practical. Yeah, we can now open Windows. So I would like for you to divide in teams of either 4 or 5 people. If we can mix up organizations and schools, that would be great. So we have different people from different schools. So okay, so we have team number 1, team number 2. Where is team number 2? Team number 2?
How many you said? 4 or 5?
4 or 5.
Okay. Of different, like, is it okay?
I mean, you can, it's all right like this. It's all right like this. Okay. So, first activity. So, there are many ways of conducting this activity. Remember, this is activity number 1. This is maths. So, whichever. Yeah, they can.
You're working with us?
Yes.
You don't have any
No, here I have them. I do not have them out. Okay. So, in a scenario where your students are accustomed to work in a self-directed way, I would just hand out. Okay, so there are two ways of conducting this activity. Remember, this is activity number 1, this is maths. This is the part of maths. So, just remind me how much time do I have? Yes, I started. Yeah, I started. Okay, so if your students are accustomed to work in a self-directed way, I would just hand out the activity and let them solve themselves. This is a difficult. It's very difficult to pronounce. To themselves sort out. Okay, so this would be completely self-directed. So the quote-unquote fast learners will sell the slow learners, etc. This would be. This would be option number 1. But then, the other way of conducting this activity would be I present the information, do an example with them, and then present them a scenario. So, this is up to you. Which scenario would you like to interact or play out? Scenario number 1, you completely sort yourselves out, or scenario number 2, I explain it.
I would choose scenario number 1.
There we go, okay. There we go. So, I'll give you the first handout. This is just a simple activity. You debate amongst yourselves what is there to do, etc., etc. You have the key. The key meaning the solutions. If you find a mistake, please let me know. So, as I said, the first activity is the activity, the first sheet is the activity, the second one is the key, meaning the solutions. Okay? So, I will give you a few minutes to start interacting with the material. I'll give you another handout.
Example, notebook and pencil, or computer or table on the internet, calculator, rule of 3 calculator. It has a website there. So when you finish the exercise, please tell your classmates how you solve the problem. 15 minutes. So this is one handout for each student. And they will all. Okay. Yes. So the first question says 3 customers enter the supermarket. Each of them buys 1 piece of soap fish. How much money does each of them pay?
Yeah, remember that you have sheet number 1, the activity number 2.
Es por decir que no se preocupen, que si suspenden no se olviden más sus alumnos.
Each price one piece of saltfish. How much money does each of them get? Yes. So if you take they will pay €2 instead of so that total now is not What question 2? What would be the price paid by the customer that buys, say, 3 pieces?
Finally, we have the last part of our meaning. Okay, so maths part done, completed. Okay, they already have the information. They already have the knowledge, the rule of 3. Then the ICT part, it's completely self-directed. As I mentioned, it's not important for them to know the rule of 3 or no. It's just to give a presentation of what they understood from the rule of 3. Okay, so it's just for them to present to their classmates, for them to interact with the technology. And when I mean the technology, what I mean for the technology is Canva, Jelly, or whichever other tool for them to present. Okay? Again, in Teams, it's all done in Teams. And this final activity is the arts activity. So once they had activity number 1, maths, activity number 2, ICT, now they have the information, the knowledge, etc. They could proceed with activity number 3, which is a mixture of art, very simple, but it's art, but mixing it with problem solution. So I'll give you a handout. It's very straightforward. The information is all there. So okay, this is for you guys from Ilinden, right? It's Ilinden. Yes, from Ilinden. Just a brief explanation. You have to code color this figure, but then you have to find the colors. So you are missing 2 of them. So to get this answer, you have to solve problem 2. To get this answer, you have to solve problem number 1. So that's the idea. You solve problem number 1, problem number 2, you get the code, and then you find the color. And this is, at least to my opinion, this is much more simple because it gives you a real scenario in the sense of, okay, I want to paint this room. Let me use the rule of 3 to calculate the area of my room, and then you have an example, and then they need to emulate